is William Shakespeare. Pay strict attention to what I say, because I choose my words carefully, and I never repeat myself. I've told you my name. That's the who. The where could most readily be described as different settings through ages. But there's a vast difference between each age and the characters in my plays. The what is easy. In each play I wrote, I am fascinated by mental illness. Many characters display a variety of symptoms and set in motion events to execute the perfect mental illness. As for the why, I intended simply to portray the finding of madness, or designedly draw a representation of a mind really disordered. It's exceedingly simple, because I can, which leaves us only with the how, and therein, as the following cases would tell us. What is mental illness? Any of various conditions characterized by impairment of an individual's normal cognitive, emotional, or behavioral functioning, and caused by social, psychological, biochemical, genetic, or other factors, such as infection or head trauma. It is also called emotional illness, mental disease, mental disorder. In my works, many common mental illnesses reoccur in my popular tragedies, such as Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Julius Caesar. Mental illnesses that appear more than once include schizophrenia, schizo-phrenia, also called dementia praecox, a severe mental disorder characterized by some, but not necessarily all, of the following features: emotional blunting, intellectual deterioration, social isolation, disorganized speech and behavior, delusions, and hallucinations. Schizophrenia in my tragedies we are familiar with. There are characters that show signs of having schizophrenia throughout the plays. One example is Julius Caesar. Let us not forget one of my favorites, borderline personality disorder. It is a common mental illness throughout. Symptoms include reckless or impulsive behavior, reoccurring suicidal behavior, unstable relations with other people. In Romeo and Juliet, they both display symptoms of BPD. Romeo and Juliet both talk about suicide more than once, and ultimately, they commit suicide. They both have unstable relationships with their parents and each other. Even though they show these symptoms, this doesn't necessarily mean that they actually had BPD. I just showed the same characteristics because I'm not a physician. I'm Shakespeare. Well, of the sweetest mental illnesses I used to enjoy showing in my plays is depression. It is a medical illness that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. It does have physical symptoms too, and is a chronic illness that usually requires long-term treatment, like diabetes or high blood pressure. Most people with depression feel better with medication, psychological counseling, or other treatment. Depression can worsen with time, can escalate to suicide, a feeling of guilt or worthlessness, persistent sad, anxious, or empty feelings, insomnia, early morning wakefulness, or excessive sleeping, difficulty concentrating, remembering details, and making decisions. A prime example of this is in Romeo and Juliet. Romeo is depressed over his love for Rosaline. Depression is also evident in this play towards the end, when Romeo gets banished for fighting, and Juliet goes into a certain depression. The outcome of this depression ended horribly in suicide. Many scholars believe that I, William Shakespeare, due to my extensive knowledge of today's mental disorders, suffered from one myself. Shakespeare had an exclusive ability to grasp the dynamics of the human mind and fathom the dysfunctions of the human psyche. According to one scholar, this could mean that I just had an incredible insight and understanding of the mind, not implying that I suffered from a mental illness.